Imagine this scene. You stand in a grand courtroom. The judge's gavel strikes the bench with a sharp crack, and an order rings out. Prove that God exists. But there's a catch: you must use reason alone, with no recourse to faith or scripture. How would you even begin? This was precisely the challenge a 13th century thinker named Thomas Aquinas willingly took on. He chose not to argue from religious dogma, but from the unassailable ground of pure logic. From this intellectual forge, he produced 5 powerful, rational arguments he believed demonstrated God's existence, which history now knows as the 5 ways. But nearly 8 centuries later, in an era defined by scientific discovery, do these medieval arguments retain their power? What, if anything, do they truly prove? Today, we journey into the mind of one of history's most formidable intellects to examine, one by one, his 5 ways to know the Creator. In the heart of the 13th century, there was a young student, so quiet and reserved that his classmates mockingly called him the dumb ox. He rarely spoke, preferring to observe the world with wide, introspective eyes, lost in a universe of thought. His teachers saw silence, but they failed to perceive the intellectual firestorm brewing within him. That young man was Thomas Aquinas, and in one of history's great ironies, the dumb ox would develop one of the most powerful and articulate voices in the history of Western thought. Born into Italian nobility around 1225, Thomas was destined for a prestigious life. His family sent him to be educated by Benedictine monks, hoping he would become a powerful abbot. But Thomas was drawn to a different path, a life of study and poverty with the fledgling Dominican order. This decision horrified his aristocratic family. So opposed were they that they took a drastic measure. They had him abducted and held him captive in a family castle for over a year, attempting to break his spirit. But their efforts were in vain. Thomas used his confinement to deepen his studies, and when he was finally freed, his conviction was stronger than ever. He journeyed to the great intellectual centers of Paris and Cologne, studying under the brilliant Albertus Magnus. It was here that Aquinas embarked on his life's work, a revolutionary synthesis. He sought to build a bridge between 2 worlds that many saw as irreconcilable: the logical philosophy of the ancient Greek thinker Aristotle and the theological doctrines of Christianity. For Aquinas, there was no conflict. He believed reason was a divine gift, a tool that could lead the human mind toward an understanding of the universe and its creator. His magnum opus, the Summa Theologica, stands as a colossal monument to this idea. In it, he doesn't just provide answers. He meticulously builds arguments, tackling the most profound questions of existence: God, morality, the soul, and the very fabric of the cosmos. His 5 ways are but a small fraction of this immense work, yet they encapsulate his method perfectly. Thomas Aquinas died in 1274, at only 49 years old, but his legacy is immortal. Canonized as a saint and later named a doctor of the Church, his influence extends far beyond Catholicism. He is revered as a philosophical giant, studied by thinkers of all persuasions, including atheists and scientists who respect the sheer force of his logic. The life of Aquinas is a testament to the idea that true knowledge does not shrink from reason but embraces it, showing us that faith and intellect can be powerful partners in our shared human quest for truth. Now, let's delve into the logic itself. Let's explore the 5 ways. Look at the world around you. A gust of wind rustles the leaves. Rivers carve their way through canyons. Planets trace their orbits through the void. Everything is in a state of change, of motion. But Aquinas starts with a simple, foundational observation. Nothing sets itself into motion. The stone that created ripples in the pond didn't leap into the air on its own. Something had to throw it. This insight, which Aquinas adapted from Aristotle, leads to a profound dilemma. If every moving thing must be put into motion by something else, what moved that thing? And what moved the thing before that? We are faced with a chain of movers. This chain presents 2 possibilities. Either it regresses infinitely, with no beginning, or it must terminate at a starting point, a first mover. Aquinas argues that an infinite regress of movers is a logical dead end. Imagine a chain of railway cars, each one pulling the one behind it. If the chain of cars went on forever, with no locomotive at the front, the entire train would remain motionless. Movement would never have a chance to begin. Yet, We clearly observe motion all around us. The universe is not static. Therefore, there must be a source of all motion, an initiator that can impart motion without first being moved by anything prior. This first mover cannot be physical, as all physical things are subject to being moved. It must be something unchanging, eternal, and self-sufficient. This prime, unmoved mover, Aquinas concludes, is what we call God. Even modern physics, with its law of inertia, doesn't escape this question. It may explain how motion continues, but not how it originated. The Big Bang theory describes the universe expanding from an initial singularity. But the question remains, what put the bang in the Big Bang? What initiated that first cosmic expansion? The puzzle of the first mover endures. Our reality is governed by cause and effect. We see smoke and deduce a fire. A smartphone rings, and we know someone initiated a call. Nothing simply happens without a cause. Aquinas extended this principle to existence itself. Nothing can be the cause of its own existence, because it would have to exist before it existed, which is a logical absurdity. This means every existing thing was caused by something prior. But once again, this creates a chain of causes. And as before, we are faced with a dilemma. Does this chain of causation go back forever, or was there a first cause? An infinite regress of causes is, for Aquinas, logically impossible. Imagine you want to borrow a specific book. Your friend says she must first borrow it from her friend, who in turn must borrow it from another, and so on, in a chain that never ends. The result? You will never get the book. For an effect to happen here and now, the causal chain that leads to it must have a real beginning. Since we know the universe exists, effects are clearly present. There must have been a first cause, something that initiated the entire chain of existence without being caused by anything else. Today, cosmology points to the Big Bang as the beginning of our universe. But even if the universe emerged from quantum fluctuations in a primordial vacuum, that vacuum itself is something. It cannot be its own cause. The question is simply pushed back one step. Why is there something rather than nothing? Aquinas proposed that since an infinite causal chain is impossible, there must be an uncaused, foundational cause that exists in its own right and gives rise to everything else. This first cause, he identified, is God. Gaze up at the night sky. Every star, every planet, every living thing on Earth, including ourselves, is what philosophers call contingent. This means its existence is not guaranteed. It depends on other things. You exist because of your parents. A tree exists because a seed found fertile soil, water, and sunlight. Stars exist because of the delicate balance of gravity and nuclear fusion. Nothing in the universe contains the reason for its own existence. Herein lies the puzzle. If everything is contingent, if everything could potentially not exist, then it is conceivable that at some point in the distant past, nothing at all existed. If there was ever a moment of pure, absolute nothingness, then nothing could ever have come into being, because from nothing, nothing comes. But you are here. The universe is here. Clearly, something exists. This fact forces us to a powerful conclusion. There must be at least one being that is not contingent. There must be something whose existence is necessary. Its very nature is to be. It cannot not exist. This necessary being is the ultimate foundation for all of reality. Without it, the entire chain of contingent existence would be like a chandelier hanging in the air with nothing to support it. The necessary being is the anchor. This being cannot be material, as all matter is subject to change and decay. It cannot be finite, as any limit would be imposed by something external. It must, therefore, be eternal, unchanging, and entirely independent. This necessary being, the ground of all reality, is what Aquinas called God. Even today, science explains how the universe works, but the question of why it exists at all remains a profound mystery. Aquinas would argue the answer lies not within the contingent cosmos, but in a being whose very essence is existence itself. In our daily lives, we constantly make judgments of value. We speak of some things being better, truer, or more beautiful than others. There is a hierarchy of qualities all around us. A simple sketch is less beautiful than a masterpiece by Da Vinci. A simple act of kindness is good, but a life of selfless sacrifice is better. This observation led Aquinas to a deep reflection on perfection. If we can recognize varying degrees of equality, like goodness or beauty, it implies that we have an implicit standard, a maximum, against which we measure everything else. We know what is hotter because we have a concept of maximum heat. We know what is brighter because we have a concept of perfect light. Aquinas concluded that for these gradations to have any meaning, there must be a real and existing maximum for all perfections. There must be something that is the ultimate standard of all goodness, all truth, and all nobility. This ultimate perfection cannot simply be an abstract idea. For Aquinas, it must have real existence, because it is the source and cause of all the limited degrees of perfection we find in the world. This being must be absolutely perfect, possessing these qualities to their fullest possible extent. It cannot be limited by time or space, as that would be an imperfection. It cannot change, because to change would mean either gaining a perfection it lacked or losing one it had, neither of which is possible for a truly perfect being. This pinnacle of being, the source of all the goodness and beauty we dimly perceive in the universe, is what Aquinas identified as God. Our own innate longing for truth, beauty, and justice is, in his view, a faint echo of this perfect being. The perfection we strive for but never fully attain is a signpost, pointing toward the divine reality that underpins the cosmos. Imagine you are walking through a wilderness, and you stumble upon a watch lying on the ground. You examine its intricate gears, its precisely moving hands, all working in concert to tell time. You would never conclude that this complex object was formed by the random collision of rocks and leaves. Its structure and function point undeniably to a watchmaker, an intelligent designer who arranged the parts with a purpose. Now, Aquinas asks us to look at the universe. It is a place of breathtaking order and complexity, governed by precise, intelligible laws. The seasons cycle with unfailing regularity. The laws of physics are so consistent that we can predict the motion of planets and send probes across the solar system. The genetic code within a single cell is a marvel of information, storage, and processing. How can this be? Aquinas noted that natural objects, which lack intelligence of their own, nonetheless act toward a goal. An acorn, without any awareness, consistently develops into an oak tree. Birds, without understanding aerodynamics or meteorology, migrate thousands of miles to the same location every year. They act as if they are directed. Just as an arrow flying through the air requires an archer to have aimed it at a target, the goal-directed behavior of the natural world, Aquinas argued, implies the existence of a guiding intelligence that directs all things to their proper end. If the universe were the result of pure chance, there would be no reason for its laws to be so stable and coherent. This profound order suggests something more than chaos. It points to a rational design. This is the heart of Aquinas' fifth way. The order and purposefulness of the cosmos point to an intelligent being that arranged it. This supreme intelligence can't be limited like our own. It must be the very source of all reason and order. For Aquinas, this cosmic architect, who not only created, but continuously upholds the harmonious operation of the universe, is God. The fifth way invites us to see the cosmos not as a random accident, but as a coherent masterpiece, crafted and sustained by an infinite mind. With his 5 ways, Thomas Aquinas extends an invitation to use our own minds to contemplate the deepest questions of existence. He does not demand blind faith. He presents a logical pathway, built upon observations of the world we all share. From the necessity of a first mover and a first cause, to the existence of a necessary being, a standard of perfection, and a cosmic designer, each argument leads the rational mind toward the same conclusion: that there is a reality beyond the physical universe, a reality that is eternal, necessary, intelligent, and the ultimate source of everything that is. That reality is what we call God. Centuries later, these arguments continue to provoke debate and inspire awe. They challenge believers and skeptics alike to confront the fundamental mystery of why anything exists at all. If this journey into the mind of Thomas Aquinas has ignited your curiosity, don't let it end here. Explore his work. Investigate the ongoing dialogue between science and philosophy. Never stop asking questions. The search for truth is the greatest adventure we have. Thank you for watching. If this video was helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And now, leave a comment below and tell us one thing you are grateful for today.